The galaxy had many kingdoms, some built on power, some on technology, and others on fear. But none were spoken of more cautiously than the Empire of Valerian, home to the most advanced civilization and the most feared monarch. Beyond its shimmering nebula borders and titanium star fortresses stood the heart of its power, the veiled throne, protected by an unbroken lineage of rulers. Every citizen knew the rule: never look upon the face of the royal blood. But there was one member of the royal family who inspired more fear and myth than all others: the emperor's daughter, Princess Lysandra, the one behind the veil. It was said she was born with a curse, that her gaze brought madness and nightmares, that anything reflected in her eyes died, physically or mentally. Some believed the veil itself held supernatural power, woven from forbidden star silk. Whether the stories were real or not, no one questioned them. No one dared to try, until a human came. Chapter 1: The Offer. Corin Vale was a soldier without a war, a wanderer with no home. After the collapse of Earth's United Systems fleet, he had spent years surviving through odd jobs: cargo escort, alien diplomacy, bounty protection. But nothing prepared him for the offer he received at a dimly lit star station cantina on the edge of Andromeda. A cloaked Valerian emissary approached him, laying down a hollow projection across the table. A girl wrapped in silver-white veils, standing before the veiled throne. "You are summoned to the Valerian palace," the emissary said. "By order of the emperor himself." Corin frowned. "I have no business with him." "You do now." The emissary slid over an encrypted scroll. "You are to serve as the personal guardian of Princess Lysandra." Corin laughed. "The princess behind the veil. The one who supposedly melts minds just by looking at you." "It is not your place to question," the emissary said. "Only to accept the honor." Honor. Corin could practically smell the danger disguised inside the word. "Why me?" he asked. The emissary leaned in, lowering his voice. "Because every Valerian who tried before you ended in madness, betrayal, or death. So that was the real reason. Humans were expendable, predictable, and desperate." Corin stared at the projection again. Despite the veil covering every inch of her face, something about her posture, like she was trapped inside a cage everyone pretended was a palace, stirred something in him. "If I refuse?" he asked. The emissary smiled with teeth just a little too sharp. "You won't." Corin understood. Refusal wasn't an option. 3 hours later, he boarded a royal war shuttle headed toward Valerian space. Chapter 2: The Princess. The palace was like nothing Corin had ever seen. Obsidian towers reaching into lavender clouds, star-steel bridges curving across floating gardens, holographic songbirds singing symphonies written by AI composers. But beneath the beauty was tension. Guards froze when Corin walked by. Servants whispered behind their hands. Eyes shimmered with fear. They weren't afraid of him. They were afraid of her. Princess Lysandra stood at the balcony overlooking the gardens, veiled from head to toe. She didn't turn when Corin entered. She only spoke softly. "You are Corin Vale. From the shattered world." Her voice wasn't frightening, it was lonely. "You've read my file," Corin answered. "I read every file of those assigned to me." She stiffened. "Because I must know if they will run. Or if they will try to kill me." Corin didn't answer immediately. "I don't run easily." "Then you'll die instead." He turned. Even though her face was hidden, something in the air shifted, the slightest tremble in the room, as if her emotions affected the very molecules around her. Princess Lysandra approached slowly. "You are not allowed to touch my veil. You are not allowed to see my face. You are not allowed to speak my true name in public. If you break any of these laws, You will not live long enough to regret it. Corin nodded. Fine. But I have rules too. Lysandra paused. If I'm supposed to protect you, then your life is now my responsibility. That means if someone tries to kill you, you listen to me. Say run, you run. I say hide, you hide. The princess didn't move. Then, to Corin's shock, she bowed her head. No one has ever spoken to me like that, she whispered. Maybe they should have, Corin replied. That was how it began. Chapter 3: Things Unspoken. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Corin learned everything about the princess, not by seeing her face, but by listening. He learned she hated being feared more than she hated being imprisoned by tradition. He learned she liked the smell of rain on titanium. He learned she practiced ancient alien poetry from extinct planets. He learned she didn't sleep well. Nightmares tormented her every night. And sometimes, when she trusted him enough, he sat outside her door until the nightmares faded. But he also learned that someone was trying to kill her. Anonymous messages. Tampered life support systems. Poisoned meals. Someone inside the palace wanted her dead. Why? Corin asked one night as they walked along the glowing Moonwater River. Lysandra hesitated. Because I am heir to the throne, but an unwanted one. A veiled ruler inspires fear, not loyalty. Then remove the veil, Corin said gently. I cannot. You mean you are not allowed? No, she touched the edge of the fabric. I mean, I am afraid. There was silence. Finally Corin spoke. Look, I don't need to see your face to know your heart. Lysandra's breath caught, and her voice trembled. No one has ever said something like that to me. From that moment on, she trusted him in a way she trusted no one else. And he, despite every warning, began to feel something he shouldn't. I used to think my world was only shadows and pain, that no one anywhere would ever choose to stay when it mattered. She stepped close, so close the snowfall settled in her silver hair. But you stayed beside me through the cold, through fear, until dawn. She placed her palm to his chest, a gesture from her culture. Not romantic, not possessive, just gratitude deep and sacred. If our paths ever cross again, she whispered, I will stand beside you the same way you stood beside me. He swallowed hard. I'd like that. The ship descended. Light swallowed her form. Just before she vanished inside, she looked at him with a soft, final smile. You saved more than my life, Evan Clark. You saved my belief in people. Then she was gone. Blue heart ending. The memory that stayed the mountain returned to silence after the ship disappeared. Evan stood alone in the snow, breath vapor curling in cold air. Yet for the first time in years, he didn't feel lonely. Someone out there in the stars carried his memory, not because of duty, debt, or fear, but because he chose to stay when she needed someone most. Back at the observatory that night, he stepped outside again. The sky shimmered with stars. He whispered into the cold air, Wherever you ended up, I hope you made it home. He didn't expect an answer. But far beyond the clouds, a streak of violet light flashed across the sky. Slow, deliberate. Signal. Message. Promise. He smiled, the first real smile in a long time, and whispered back, Someday. And the night, once lonely and unforgiving, suddenly didn't feel so cold anymore. Lysandra crumpled in relief, tears falling freely. Chapter 5. The face behind the veil. The palace was silent for hours after the collapse. When Lysandra finally approached him, Corin was pale from blood loss, but still conscious. You should have died, she whispered, voice shaking. Maybe, he answered. But if seeing you was my last moment, it would still be the best moment of my life. She pressed her forehead gently to his. No one has ever looked at me without fear. I won't stop, Corin whispered. Even if the universe demands it. Then let the universe rage. She stood, turned to the throne room full of terrified witnesses, and spoke with a voice powerful enough to shake the empire. I am Lysandra of the Veiled Blood. I will not hide anymore. If you cannot face truth, step aside. Not one person dared challenge her. Final chapter. The heart that sees months later, peace had returned. Corin, healed and honored, remained by Lysandra's side, not because of duty, but because he chose to. She no longer wore the veil. Some feared her eyes. Some revered them. Many learned to accept her. Change took time, but it began. One night, on the balcony where they first spoke, Lysandra whispered, "You saw my face, but you already loved me before that." Why? Corin looked at the stars. Because a face can lie. A heart can't. She took his hand, and this time she didn't tremble. "Stay with me," she said softly. "Always," he replied. They stood together beneath a sky of 2 moons, no veil between them anymore. Not cloth, not fear, not fate. And though the galaxy still whispered legends, the truth was softer, kinder, and far more powerful. She was feared by everyone, except the one who saw her for who she really was. Chapter 4. Betrayal in the throne room. The day of the coronation arrived. Lysandra was to be crowned heir in front of thousands, in the veiled throne room, surrounded by nobles and soldiers. Corin stood at her side, scanning every face for danger. Everything happened at once. A flash of metal, a blade thrown from the gallery. Corin shoved Lysandra aside, taking the strike to his arm. Pain shot through him, but he didn't stop. He pushed her behind a throne pillar, shielding her with his body. Guards surrounded the princess, but not to protect her, to imprison her. Her uncle, Lord Varkon, stepped forward. "The throne belongs to me," he declared. "This cursed child will not lead Valerian." He raised his sword toward Lysandra. Corin reacted first, tackling him to the ground. Varkon sneered. "You're just a human. You think she cares for you. She cannot even look at you." Corin pinned him by the throat. "I don't need her face. I know who she is." In the chaos, Varkon's soldiers rushed them. Corin was overwhelmed, beaten to his knees, forced away from her. "Kill her," Varkon ordered. Lysandra screamed, a sound so raw it cracked the air, and something in the universe snapped. Her veil burned away in white light. Everyone looked, and everyone fell. Guards collapsed. Nobles shattered psychologically. Varkon screamed until his mind broke. The legends were true, but incomplete. Lysandra's gaze didn't cause madness because of evil. It was because of overwhelming truth. Her eyes showed every person their deepest self, their sins, their failures, their real soul. The guilty could not endure it. And Corin, bleeding, lifted his head. "Don't look," she cried. "Corin, don't, you'll break." He looked anyway. Their eyes met. And nothing happened. Corin didn't scream. He didn't collapse. He didn't lose himself. He smiled, weak but steady. "I told you. I already knew your heart." Lysandra crumpled in relief, tears falling freely. Chapter 5. The face behind the veil. The palace was silent for hours after the collapse. When Lysandra finally approached him, Corin was pale from blood loss, but still conscious. "You should have died," she whispered, voice shaking. "Maybe," he answered. "But if seeing you was my last moment, it would still be the best moment of my life." She pressed her forehead gently to his. "No one has ever looked at me without fear." "I won't stop," Corin whispered. even if the universe demands it. Then let the universe rage. She stood, turned to the throne room full of terrified witnesses, and spoke with a voice powerful enough to shake the empire. I am Lysandra of the Veiled Blood. I will not hide anymore. If you cannot face truth, step aside. Not one person dared challenge her. Final chapter. The heart that sees months later, peace had returned. Corin, healed and honored, remained by Lysandra's side, not because of duty, but because he chose to. She no longer wore the veil. Some feared her eyes. Some revered them. Many learned to accept her. Change took time, but it began. One night, on the balcony where they first spoke, Lysandra whispered, "You saw my face, but you already loved me before that." Why? Corin looked at the stars. Because a face can lie. A heart can't. She took his hand, and this time she didn't tremble. "Stay with me," she said softly. "Always," he replied. They stood together beneath a sky of 2 moons, no veil between them anymore. Not cloth, not fear, not fate. And though the galaxy still whispered legends, the truth was softer, kinder, and far more powerful. She was feared by everyone, except the one who saw her for who she really was.